Search traffic click throughs to websites has been declining for the last 7 years consistently. That means that your traffic coming from Google to your website is going down and down and down. With AI, it's only getting worse. ChatGPT wants you to stay on ChatGPT. They just introduced ads. What do you think that means? It means that they want people to stay on ChatGPT long enough to see more ads so that they can get paid more money. They don't want people to click through to your website. That sucks. How do you get people to come to your website? How do you get people to go to your offers and actually buy from you? The answer is empathy. Empathy is the idea that you can understand what your audience is going through, what they're feeling, what they're thinking, what they're actually struggling with individually, and speak directly to that. I've been working with the creators and business owners who have been getting a ton of engagement and a ton of traffic. They're growing at paces that I have not seen since, I don't know, the early 2010s. And the way that they're doing it is through empathy. They're able to speak to the experience of their audience in a way that only you would know if you can actually understand what your audience is going through. And AI can never do that. That's why their engagement is up so much, why their traffic is up so much, why their reach is up so much. They're actually able to understand and empathize with what people are going through and speak directly to that. It's crazy how much this is a dichotomy right now. I see people from this old world mindset where it's like, okay, I'm just going to say information. And if I have the best information displayed in the best way that's the most authoritative, then I should get traffic, right? No, they're not. They're not getting any traffic. Now, somebody else with the exact same information is packaging it in a story and explaining it in a way that connects and empathizes with their audience and what their audience is thinking and feeling. Those people, it's taking off. And yes, it's mostly short form video. It's Instagram, it's TikTok, and then that's parlaying back into YouTube. Why? Because AI can't make video right now. It just doesn't. It looks janky, it doesn't work right, and you can't fake a 3, 6, 12-minute video where you are giving information that is packaged up in a way that's empathetic, in a way where you truly understand what it is that the audience is feeling. Now, I work in the world of quizzes. I'm the co-founder of a company called Interact. We host quizzes. We have been since 2013. And something really interesting has been happening the last 3 years. The quizzes, where the questions in those quizzes are things that you would only know to ask if you deeply knew the audience on a personal, individual, heart level. Those quizzes are just doing extremely well. Better than anything that we've ever seen. Better than the early days of like Facebook where quizzes would go viral. Better than that. I'm talking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of new email subscribers coming through these quizzes because that's the point of doing a quiz. And it's because the way they're asking the questions is empathetic. They understand what is going on with the audience. The title of the quiz itself speaks directly to what is going on in the world of the audience. The results at the end, if it's an archetype, it's a personality type, it's a recommendation, whatever it is, it's connecting to the world of the person in the audience directly, cutting through all the noise. Where's that coming from? Thousands of DMs. Thousands of DMs where people are asking questions, explaining how they feel, writing and bearing their souls. And that's what's being translated back into the content of the quiz. It's hard to explain almost what it actually looks like. If I was to sit you down and say, okay, let's go through this process, I think what it actually looks like is listening and paying attention to what's going on with your audience. What are the things that are really scaring them? What are the things that they're really worried about? What are the things that they really feel like, I can't figure this out? And if I can't figure this out, I can't move forward with my life. My life's not going to be better later on unless I get through this. What are those things? Those are the things that they're going to respond to, both in your content, whether it's short form video, long form video, podcast, whatever. Those are going to be the topics that people will actually engage with, watch, listen, share. What are the things that they actually truly cannot deal with not knowing an answer for themselves? Things have to be individualized down to the person that's in your audience. And oftentimes there's different types of people in your audience, which is why we have a quiz tool, because you can speak to different types within your audience. But that is the dichotomy that I'm seeing. It is a tale of two worlds. This old world thinking where you are just spewing information and hoping that by spewing information, people will pay attention. It's not working. It's been on the decline for 7 years, and it's going to decline faster over the next 7 years because AI is going to eat up all of that. If you're just seeking information, you're just seeking the data, it's already there. They don't need to go to you. They're not going to go to you. It's clunky to go to you. Why would they go from a chatbot to your website and then come back? Go from a chatbot to your Instagram and come back? That doesn't make any sense. But what's on the rise, the people that are having inordinate success right now, are the ones where they're using empathy. They're speaking to the audience as the audience wants to be spoken to. They're speaking to the feelings of the audience, what the audience is actually experiencing. They're not saying, oh, this is what you need to do. They're saying, this is where you are. I see where you are, and I can come alongside you and help you get where you want to go. It's so different from the old school, like, speak to a pain point. Okay, somebody has this pain point. Here's a solution. No one wants that anymore. And if they do want that, they can go to AI and just get it, right? What they want from you as the creator, and this is what I've seen from the creators that are having just really crazy success. Like, I haven't seen it go this quickly at any point since I've been doing this for the last 15 years. I haven't seen people grow as quickly as they're growing now. But the way that they're growing is that they understand this is how my audience is feeling. Maybe even this is how my audience is feeling this week or this month or this year. What are the broad trends? What are the short-term trends? What are the midterm trends? What are the things that are on their mind? And the things that are on their mind are not obvious. And the obvious things are just too easy to answer. You're not going to get any attention by just addressing the obvious things. You have to cut through to the next layer, right? My favorite story of this, and it's hilarious, right? This woman writes in, says, my email's broken. Technician comes in. He's like, okay, well, the internet's fine. Your email seems fine. I don't know what's going on. And then the woman informs him, oh, no, the way that I do email is that I send it to my friend. My friend prints it out and then puts it on my desk. And so he's like, okay, well, I'll check the printer. He goes over to the printer. Printer's unplugged. So what was the actual problem when she said her email was broken? The printer was unplugged. That's the exact example of empathy. Empathy is understanding that people feel like their email is broken, but actually the printer is unplugged. It's not the surface obvious thing that you're speaking to. You're speaking to what's underneath. And once you've connected with that and people feel safe and seen and heard and acknowledged and not put down or shamed for whatever it is that they want to change or whatever they're struggling with, then you can introduce the more informative, the more data driven, the stuff that actually helps you move through. But you can't just jump there. And I think that's the difference between the past world of marketing and the current world of marketing. The past world of marketing was all about just jumping straight to here's what you need to do. Here's the thing that you have to change. Here's the solution to your problem. But people are not responding to that in 2026. They're responding to the person who's like, hey, I see this struggle that you're having. I see this thing that's going on with you. I understand that. I empathize with that. Here's my story of going through that. And then here's how you could potentially work through it. Here's how I worked through it. Here's how this other person that I know worked through it. It's done at a relational level. It's not done at an information level. A great example of this comes from Michelle Shapiro. She's a registered dietitian and a customer of Interact. Her quiz on weight loss. What would you guess that a quiz on weight loss might be? Oh, what's the best way to lose weight? What diet do you need to lose weight, right? That's what would come to mind. The title of her quiz is it the right time to lose weight? Why? Because she knows that her audience is much more mindful about the holistic picture of health and whether or not losing weight is going to be sustainable. So she knows that the actual question underneath the question is, Is it the right time for me to change my habits and change my whole routine in an effort to lose weight? That's what the title of the quiz is. And people that are able to speak on that second level, the information below the information, the thoughts below the surface, what's actually going on the inside, those are the people where they're having inordinate success. And it's really just fascinating because what they're actually talking about is not so different. It's like how every mindfulness practitioner pulls from the same books that were written thousands of years ago. But the skill, and I will say this is the skill of 2026, and it is a very hard skill to develop. The skill is in connecting it through empathy and connecting to the audience on an individual personal level. The people that are doing that super well right now, they're able to now really make a change and an impact in their customers' lives because their customers are now going from a place of connection and relational connection to be able to change something. You can't move forward unless you feel safe emotionally. You feel safe relationally. You feel seen and heard and understood for who you are. Then you can listen and go through some practical steps. But you just come to somebody and you say, here's all the things you're doing wrong, and here's exactly what you need to do to fix your problem. Shut down, emotional shutdown. Nothing's going to happen. And that's what's happening with a lot of content right now. I see a massive number of small businesses that are putting out content, solution, information, steps, guide, right? Over and over again. How many likes? How much engagement? Zero, 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 zero. How many views? 4, 2, 1, 0. 0. I haven't seen zeros on quizzes. The only time that I've seen it is the last 3 years. Literal zeros. 0 people take a quiz that doesn't actually speak to what's going on in the inner world of the audience, that doesn't actually lead with empathy and understanding the true thing that's going on with people. But if you can recognize that, if you can speak to that, and people usually know, that's the thing that's really fascinating to me. When I really push people, they're like, well, this is what my audience really wants to know. They really want to know this thing. And then I'm like, why are you not talking about that? Why are you not leading with that? You're leading with all this information and facts and blah, 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 blah. And I do think that school has a big part to do with it. We were all taught that 5-paragraph essay. State your thesis, do your 3 facts, restate your thesis. And that's in our brains, it's hardwired in there. We all feel like that's what we're supposed to do. But now in this new world where social media is leading, where video is leading, where empathy is leading, it completely fails. And what works instead is starting with empathy, starting with acknowledging who it is you're talking to and what is actually going on in their world. Sharing your story as it relates to that. Only sharing your story as it's helpful for somebody to connect to your story and live out their life through your story so that they can figure out their problem. That's what really works. People are looking to connect first so that they can feel like this actually is going to work for them. They're so tired of being told, do this, do that, buy this, take this pill, whatever it is. They know that's not the answer. They know that's not the solution. They know it's not going to work to just do this one simple thing. People are over that. What they want to know is, can you understand what's actually happening with me in my world as a whole, not just this particular little thing that you're talking about? As a whole, what's going on with me? You can acknowledge that. And that's why I think quizzes really do work well when they work well, because you're asking questions. Quizzes usually at least 6 questions. You're asking questions, and somebody's going to immediately know based on what questions you ask if you know what's going on in their world. If you have a quiz about fitness and the first thing you ask is, how many miles do you run every day? And your audience is mostly made up of people who live in a place where it's just like too hilly to even run, this is a hypothetical example, they're just going to immediately be like, this person has no idea what's going on with me. And that's an aggrandized example, but it is legitimately how people feel. When you start talking and you're talking about this thing that's over here, it's just out of left field. And they're like, yo, man, I am on first base. You're over talking in left field. That doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't actually have anything to do with what's going on in my world. But if you can go directly to first base, stand on first base next to that person, like, hey, I see you're on first base. I've been on first base too. Here's how I got to second base. Here's how I got to third base. Here's how I scored a home run, right? You relate first, then you can give steps to move forward. And that is the advice that I give to people all the time when they're thinking about quizzes. It's like, oh, should my quiz title be, something that is the solution? No, the quiz title should be addressing what it is that people are feeling today. What are they going through today? What do they think is their problem? Heck, that is something that is just like kind of crazy to me that people do not ask. They don't ask their audience, hey, what do you think is your problem? They always just want to say what the problem is. Your problem is this, your problem is that. And then you actually ask the person who's in your audience and they're like, no, I don't think that's my problem. I think my problem is this thing that's completely not related to what the business owner thinks is the problem. And I think if you can shift over your mindset and just run everything through this lens of like, what does my audience think? What do they feel? What are they going through? What are the struggles that they have? That puts you in the mindset of empathy. When you get in the mindset of empathy, that's where all the growth is happening. And it's just better because honestly, if you can connect first, it kind of weeds out all the junk, all the fakeness. Nobody's going to actually listen to what you're saying unless you are connecting with how they feel and what they're really going through. And if you can connect with that first, then you're almost guaranteed to be helpful to them because you have now found common ground. Like, hey, sounds like this is what's going on with you. And they're like, yes, that's what's going on with me. And then you're like, sounds like this is where you want to go. And they're like, yes, that's where I want to go. And then you're like, cool. I've worked with a bunch of people that have been through something similar, and here are some options that worked. What do you think's good for you? And they're like, that one sounds good. And I'm saying all that, but that's literally the flow of a quiz, or that's the flow of going from content to one of your offers, one of your products. And if it can be like that, where you're going through with empathy and actually asking first, like, hey, is this what's going on with you? Do you think this would help? Then they get to guide themselves through. They're the hero of their own journey. You're just coming alongside to help. And then you're not selling anything. You're just a helpful guide. If you can be a helpful guide, then it completely changes the game. And not only can you be successful, make a lot of money in your business, but the people that you're working with will be more successful than what they paid you. They'll say things like, this is the best money that I've ever spent. We hear that actually a lot at Interact with our quizzes because we do follow this exact process. Like, we don't really take anybody on unless it's the right fit. We set up our pricing model where it just doesn't make sense to use it unless it's the right fit. You get plenty of time to try it out first. And we make sure that it actually fits with the way that you do business. And then all the time I hear, this is the best money that I've ever spent. This is the one thing I'm not getting rid of in my business. If we can run a business that makes a lot of money where people say stuff like that, I think that's the dream of most of the business owners that I talk to. No one who just wants to make a ton of money anymore. People want to actually have a business that's connected, that's relational, that genuinely helps people. And they feel like what they're doing every day is in alignment with where people want to go in their audience. But the only way to get there is to lead with empathy. And that's the big shift that's happened over the last 7 years, accelerated the last 3 years. And I think 2026 is kind of the year where it cuts off, where if that's not what you're leading with, then I think it's just going to not be a year that you get through, to be quite honest. Versus leading with empathy, I think there's going to be a lot of growth, a lot of acceleration. and just a lot of good vibes all around because you are actually helping people with the true things that they want help with.